Hey guys, and welcome to another Star Wars Destiny video. And this one's going to be a little bit fun, because, to be honest, I have an unpopular opinion, and I'm just going to say right now, guys, I recognize that I very well may be wrong. There are a lot of very good players who disagree with me. Yeah, they just do. Um, they I hold very strong opinions about this based off of my own experiences in playing against the deck. And I'm just going to have fun in this video and just go completely haywire, stop caring about the fact that I might be wrong, and just state what I think. Just so you guys can have some entertainment, and because, I don't know, I want to have fun. So we're going to do another World's Prep article. Only this one's not going to be as serious, because I think that if you want to get ready for playing with hero vehicles, and playing against hero vehicles, go look at, like, Artificery guys. Get into the Artificery Discord, ask them. They're the ones who play this deck. They're the ones who know the ins and outs. I mean, the Hyperloop's active in Artificery Discord. Go talk to them. They'll be a great help, I'd assume. There have been multiple articles written, I believe, by like the Hyperloops and by Artificery, I think, on these decks. I'm not 100% certain on that. So they're good sources. But as far as so briefly, the strength of the deck is that it has 5 dice. Ayla's dice are ridiculous. Rose has really good resource gen. Ezra is pretty good at resource gen, as well as just being annoying, and he offers you hero yellow. By the way, this is Hyperloop's gauntlet list, just so you guys know. Strength of the deck, because it's 3 wide and has lots of HP, it can kind of let some of its control aspect just be the fact that it has extra health. It doesn't lose its damage output as it loses characters, typically. Ayla's the only character who really can deal damage. But typically in late game, if you've killed 2 characters of a 3-wide deck, typically their damage output is going to be severely reduced. Right? They're sitting there with that max like 4 to 5 dice. When you're playing against vehicles and they have 1 character left, they have like 10 dice on the board. So that's the strength. Like, the longer the game goes, they just keep adding damage dice. They don't lose any damage dice. So it's that combination of being able to just add dice, not worry as much about characters dying, and just be able to be like, their health is my defense, right? They're just a meat shield there, sitting in front of your supports who are going to eventually like kill your opponent. On top of that, some strengths, it has some ridiculously good control options and easy pickings, and into the garbage chute. They're both nuts off of Ezra. Garbage shooting on Ayla and Rose isn't really good until turn 3, in my opinion. If you have to garbage shoot on turn 2 with one of those 2, it will be unfortunate for you, I think. So this really is good while you have Ezra or turn 3 and on, because then at that point, if you have like 4 to 5 vehicles, you don't care if you're exhausting your Rose or your Ayla. Let's see. Scruffy looking nerf herder can be nice. Friends in low places can be nice. Caution can be nice. Yeah, and Vandalize can be especially good in the deck too, because say one of your Ayla dice and your Ezra dice miss, you just take out their 2 Goss upgrade on turn 1. It seems pretty nuts. Does cost a resource to do that though, so if you didn't draw like ramp options and negate your battlefield, that's not as good of an option. So yeah, strengths, you just, like, Rally Aid is nuts, resource gen, hashtag nerf Rally Aid is common in Artificery, you know what I mean? It's certainly an over-the-curve card, just gives you 2 resources every turn if you use it properly. Funny thing, it actually can let you get around running interference. There was a funny play once where Andrew used Rally Aid after Luke running interference and then concentrated, and, you know, just like if he had like 2 cards left, so it was like a 50-50, and Luke grabbed, well, I don't know how many cards he had left. What was it? In any case, lo and behold, the Rally Aid hit the good old into the garbage chute and removed the 2 3s that had just been concentrated through on OB. So that's kind of funny interaction there. Let's see. Strength of the deck. C3PO really helps its consistency, as does R2. Being able to take like a 2-side rolled on Rose, take this 2 indirect and turn it into 2 focus into like, let's see, something like the Y-Wing special and, you know, a 2 or like 3 indirect, different things like that can be pretty strong. Other strengths, Pellet Cruiser can give a lot of shields, so good survivability. General weaknesses, it's kind of weak into hand control and into mill, because the indirect damage is especially weak into mill, because it can kind of like, you can like never kill it, and because vehicle's strength is in its survivability and stuff, like against some of the faster mill decks, against most of the mill decks, you can kind of end up never killing any of the mill characters and just losing. You're also weak to hand control, so a mill deck that can hit your hand is like really bad for you. This deck is kind of weak into close quarters assault. I mean, it runs options like easy, like friends in low places and scruffy looking nerfer. Those can help with it. I'm not saying the deck doesn't have options, but there's a lot of good stuff going on in here. But I would say, playing against the deck, make sure you're controlling their hand as much as you can. And here's the biggest piece of advice that I will give that no one seems to agree with besides like people on the council, and that is kill Ezra first. Okay? There it is. You start doing that, game's easy. Like, super easy, okay? I'm going to start going off the walls on how bad this deck is. So, I would think that one of the typical matchups where you'd think that Hero Vehicles is bad into, or good into, is like Ray Ayla, right? Well, the other day, I was playing Ray Ayla against Hero Vehicles, and Ray Ayla does have CQA, which is pretty nuts against Hero Vehicles. Like, if you can CQA their hand, it's rough for them. But I think it was something like three games in a row, it went like this. Turn 1, kill Ezra. Sure, they used like a single removal card and then ramped some, but between Ray pinging and then something like a riposte, and then a couple 2s, and you're looking at Ezra is dead, right? Or you get Ezra to 6, and then the Ray ping at the beginning of turn 2 kills Ezra, right? So now, turn 2, they no longer have easy pickings, right? They no longer have friends in low places, and they no longer have Garbage Chute. Now, Garbage Chute can be used on Ayla and Rose, I recognize that, but it's really not online until turn 3. Because if you're Garbage Shooting Ayla on turn 2, that is just so bad for you. Like, I get that, like, it's an option, but I think it's terrible for you, right? So now their like control options are like Caution and Pin Down. That's all there is in this list, guys, now. Caution and Pin Down. That's like nothing, okay? 4 cards left. 4. And their Caution is still good at that point, but Pin Down is kind of under the curve. It's just 1 for 1 die. Okay? So what happens is, after you've killed Ezra on turn 1, the turn 2 kill on Rose is super easy because they don't have the control for you. They draw into like an easy pickings Friends in Low Places hand, and they're like, well, what is this supposed to do? And then you're just like, reroll, 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 resolve 2, 2, plus 3, 1, 1. Rose is dead. Yeah, that's up to 9, right? And then you know what happens turn 3? You kill Ayla. So 3 games in a row is just like, with the deck that's supposed to lose into your vehicles, I just went kill Ezra, kill Rose, kill Ayla. All 3 games. I think one of the games that actually took 4 turns to win, but you get the point. Moving on. The deck can do nuts things. I understand that, right? But if Ayla, but if it messes up its rolls in the early turns where it's trying to ramp out vehicles, and in the early turns you're usually doing 1 control card, you're doing 1 like tech team, rally, or C3PO card, and you're trying to toss out 1 to 2 supports, right? So that's 3 to 4 cards, which means you have 1 to 2 re-rolls, right? If you miss your rolls in early game, you do absolutely nothing. Now C3PO helps with this, right? That's 2 cards. And you could just get lucky and roll well, right? But in a lot of games, even when they have the turn 2 get out 2 supports, one of the supports rolls blank, and you're just like, haha. Or the HWK that they played rolled 4-4-1 indirect, but they don't have a resource anymore. I can't tell you how many times I've played into that deck and had them do no damage to me on like turn 1 or turn 2. I mean, equally as many times they also dealt like 3 to 8 damage on turn 1. Like, I get that that's a potential, and it really sucks when they do that to you. But at the same time, it's felt like way more than they deal that to you. You end up dealing, they end up like missing. Because most of the dice, I mean, you're looking at 50-50 odds or less, with the exception of like modified HWK. There's so many pay sides here, right? Bang Fighter, you only have 2 sides. HWK, you really only have 2 sides if you don't have money, right? The good old Republic Cruiser has 2 sides that you want. Good old T-47 Airspeeder has 2 sides. The special is an option and does a lot for the deck, don't get me wrong. The Y-Wing has 2 sides, and then the 2 is kind of like a, well, I guess I'll settle for this type thing. right? So yeah, the odds are not in their favor at rolling damage, right? So they need multiple rerolls, but in early turns they don't get multiple rerolls because they're playing the good old economy boosting cards, the good old consistency boosting cards, and they're playing control, and they're playing more supports. They don't have the rerolls in early game, so more often than not, they don't deal a lot of damage. Now, because they have to ramp on turn 1, the best case scenario for them is like they draw easy pickings turn 1, right? But if they don't draw easy pickings turn 1, or you draw a Filp with a deck that can run Filp, and you hit their easy pickings, their Ezra is dead. Like 9 times out of 10, you can deal 7 damage with most decks in this meta. It is not hard whatsoever to do that. Even with the decks that can struggle to roll damage, like you just need a couple 2s and then some sort of aggro card like a Riposte, and then Ezra's dead. Right? When Ezra dies, look at this list. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards turned off for turn 2. So the next turn, they draw like worst case scenario, they draw like a Garbage Chute or an Easy Pickings and a Friends in Low Places, and they're looking at 2 dead cards. Sure, once again I said, they can still play that Garbage Chute, but if they're Garbage Shooting Ayla, look at what they're giving up, guys. Right? That's like a win for you. You're like, okay, you traded 2 good dice for 2 good dice of mine, and you lost a resource, right? So when you kill Ezra on turn 1, you're looking at a super easy turn, like 2 and 3, killing Rose and Ayla. It's just, I don't know, with like aggro decks, like it just feels like you just roll right through them and they can't do anything about it. Now, there are plays that help them out on turn 1. I get it, like a Caution can be pretty nuts because like that one character that mixes just becomes 3 extra health. And that can be actually one of the best cards at keeping Ezra alive turn 1 because it makes him from 7 HP character to a 10 HP character. But I don't know, you kill him early on in round 2. You are setting yourself up for the potential loss if they draw like 2 of the easy pickings and pin downs really early and use and into the Garbage Chute and get to use them both. But then I think that you just aren't playing well enough. A lot of decks can play a little bit around easy pickings, especially Mother Talzin. A lot of decks have hand control, and you should be mulliganing for them hard. So a little bit of bad luck, and yes, I get that getting hung up on Ezra is bad, but I just find that if you kill Ezra at turn 1, the deck just like is so bad. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. Also, the deck is super slow, super weak into Hyperspace Jump. I'd be concerned about Yoda Hondo. If they play an early Force Wave and Hyperspace Jump you twice, you are just doomed. There's nothing you're going to do. Yoda Hondo can also do things like toss a second chance on Hondo, toss all the indirect on Hondo, and then force you to go into a second chance character. Yoda Hondo has great control options for your supports. If you miss your rollouts on your supports, then you have to roll, and you only have like 1 or 2 rerolls, then you have to roll multiple supports at a time, and Entangle on like 2 Y-Wing dice, it's like all of your damage is gone. Yeah, the easy pickings can be really annoying for Rose to deal with. If they roll out Ayla, hit that special, then roll out Rose, the odds of you being able to easy pickings them is really good. The deck does have scruffy looking Nerf Herder and Friends in Low Places, which I get help, but a lot of these cards, especially the ones that cost 1 resource, just aren't online quite as early as you'd hope, because you also need to ramp. Because if you don't have like 3 to 4 vehicles on the board by the end of round 2, you just don't have enough damage being dealt usually. Yeah. The other thing, it's kind of sad for your vehicles, is that 5-die villain is like, oh my goodness, what do I do against this deck? When that Paula's just untapping, and you don't have enough direct damage to kill him, it kind of sucks. It sucks a lot for the deck to deal with. So, yeah, I don't know. The deck is way too susceptible to hand control, way too susceptible to hyperspace jump, way too susceptible to rolling bad, way too susceptible to having lots of cards like unplayable after one character who's 7 HP dies. And I don't care if you get to ramp with Rose and Ayla because I killed your Rose first, if you can't protect your Rose and Ayla on turn 2 and turn 3 because you have no control cards. You have 4. 1, 2, 3-4. And then if you're garbage shooting Rose and Ayla on turn 2, good job. You do you. I'll just sit there and be happy like, oh, okay, you're doing nothing this turn. So, yeah. Let's see. So, bringing it back a little bit, guys, the deck is good. I get it. It's done really well at events. All this, like, statistics show that it does well. However, I think that part of that is that it's a little bit easier of a deck to play, especially for like the casual player to bring hero vehicles. It has lots of room for mistakes, lots of room to mess up, because you don't care as much as if your characters die. A deck like Yoda Hondo has very little room for error, because if you lose that Yoda really early, it really sucks for you. A deck like Hero Vehicles is like, oh, I lost my Rose early. It's okay, I still have 17 more health left, and I have all these vehicles out there still, right? Like, it's kind of still fine. Lots, especially against... so playing into vehicles is like playing into a timer, so if you're playing against a worse player who isn't being as efficient, if they make mistakes, then they're not dealing with the ticking time bomb that is the, 7 support board state that will wreck you. So I get that. Especially if the game drags out into turn 4, turn 5, it can really suck, because on that turn 5, when they garbage shoot, you've got one character with 5 dice, you roll out 2 of your best dice at damage and they garbage shoot you, you're like, oh my goodness, what just happened? I'm doomed, right? I understand that. Okay, so the deck can be really good. I just would hate to play this deck in a best of 3 in a top 16 against any of the other top decks. Like, even the ones where it's favored in, I'd just be like, oh no, what if they CQA me? Oh no, what if they just... Yeah, I don't know. What if I just roll blanks on my Y-Wings, instead of specials? What if I don't draw my C-3PO in time to help me fix my odds? What if I don't hit my rally aids? What if I only draw a couple rally aids and a tech team turn 1 and can't even play a support on turn 1? What if I don't see my easy pickings until after Ezra's dead? What if I don't see my friends in low places until after Ezra's dead? What if I don't see scruffy-looking Nerf herder on that key turn 3 and then they hyperspace jump me? I realize that every deck has what-ifs. I just hate the what-ifs of hero vehicles. Yeah, I felt like hand control is like the nail in the coffin for the deck. If somebody can CQA you for even 2 cards on turn 1, it sucks. It is just terrible. And a deck like Boba 7th, we found, even though it only has 21 HP and in theory would lose to hero vehicles, what the deck does is it helps you turn 1, takes your best control option. You maybe have like a pin down left, but you need to play a vehicle first. You maybe have, a garbage shoot. Maybe you drew a garbage shoot and easy pickings, but now your easy pickings is gone and you have to garbage shoot. Boba 7 still deals, like, you hit a couple of its dice, but then it still deals, like... I guess the easy pickings a garbage shoot turn, maybe it doesn't kill Ezra, but almost, like, 9 out of 10 games, it kills Ezra on turn 1, right? And then turn 2, it rolls out, and it CQAs you for, like, 3, because, it's rolling out 7th Sister with, like, Ancient, Vibro, and it's Seeker Droid, and that's 5 dice, and 2 of them hit a couple melee sides. It rolls out. They could CQA just for 2 at that point, and if you started the turn by playing a support, and then they CQA you, and now you're down to, like, 2 cards, you're just like, oh my goodness, what am I supposed to do now? CQA, yeah. Like, Boba 7th, with it having both Filp and CQA, and it having enough damage to kill Ezra turn 1 almost all the time, and having Boba specials for shutting off resistance bombers if people still have that die out there. I know this list doesn't, but if you have resistance bomber still in your deck and it rolls out, you're just like, well, his Boba special's dealing at least 3. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I just don't think the deck has a good enough shot into a lot of the decks. But don't listen to me. Listen to Artificery. They know better than I do about the deck. I want to acknowledge that. I don't know as much as Artificery about this deck, because I don't play it as much as I do. I've only played against it, really. I mean, against other good players. Like, I'm not saying my testing is all on TTS against scrubs. It's in person against people I know are good. And I beat it more than I lose. with like every deck I've tried against it, even the decks that are supposed to be bad. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on hero vehicles. So bye.